but I have one group working on the computers while I'm doing a little lesson in the front half of the room. And I'm standing in the middle facing, call it north, and the computer lab's south. Well, I'm teaching the kids to the north, and I see them all looking behind me. And so I ignore it, and I see some smirks and some laughing, and they're all looking behind me. So I turn around really quickly, and this 10-year-old kid has rolled up a poster, stuck it from his pants up his shirt, sticking out as in a large erection, and is air humping / dancing across the back of the room. And this is where I am going to lose my shit laughing, but can't.
You're listening to the Art and More podcast with your hosts, Nathan and BR. Nathan is a Canadian illustrator with a couple years of military experience, and BR is a British anarchist that moved to the States. Both are passionate shooters and community builders. Together, they run the Seaburn art page. Enjoy the show.
You set off the short timer the second Nathan puts the barrel in his mouth.
Okay,
just reflexively pulls the trigger.
How to do the Fastest Suicide podcast, and also just shaming DJ for not watching Jackie Chan Adventures for 2 hours.
Yeah, you are really missing out. Like
that was my entire ass childhood.
Anyone who hasn't seen Jackie Chan Adventures, go and treat yourself.
Fuck you.
You don't want my bites now.
Go fuck yourself.
What? We can't. Okay, whatever. I guess we're starting like that.
Anyways, you know what we're not doing? We're not introducing the guest. We have
no, because we've been waiting for you to grab your fucking ammo.
Well, I was just going to say that I actually know a guy who throws some pretty awesome bachelor parties.
Hell yeah!
So we have brought up our guest in the past. This is DJ. He runs. Are we allowed to dox your business?
Yeah, absolutely. I hope so.
Yes. It's either CTHR LLC. But he is here to talk to us today about, we'll probably get into the bachelor party too, even though we've kind of recapped that, but it would be fun to get another perspective on it. But you were a school teacher for how many years? And you have many, many very interesting stories about how absolutely fucked the public schooling system is.
Yeah, 5.5 years teaching. I did 2 years in public middle school, and I did 3.5 years teaching college education.
God, what did you teach?
God, that's awful.
So I taught at NC State, North Carolina State University. Yep. Dox that one a little bit. I did the wood and metal shop, plastics manufacturing, and introduction to residential construction.
Oh, so you were a cool teacher. Like, the teachers of those classes are never dicks. Like, were you a cool teacher?
Most of the time. I tried to teach my kids in college. Absolutely. Teaching middle school, it was, you had the different hats. Are we doing playtime, or are we trying to do our serious learning time? So when we were messing around building things, the cool teacher. When we were doing our learning part, not a cool teacher at all.
Gotcha. So what made you want to...
The stereotype of the, like... Sorry, go on.
Nathan, go ahead.
The stereotype of the cool shop teacher is a real one, though. It's like the cool shop teacher and the cool drama teacher are the two diametrically opposed cool teachers, and I think legally you have to kill each other if you ever come across in, like, the hallway.
I thought we had a mate.
You thought you had a witch?
It's like the game Fuck, Marry, Kill. Like, you had to do one of the...
So, did you teach middle school before you taught college?
I taught middle school on, I got my bachelor's, taught a year, master's degree, taught a year. And during my master's degree, since I was a licensed educator, I didn't really have a boss. I taught 3 courses. I think really it's more of an adjunct professor. Other people might disagree, but I don't care. And then after I got my degree, there were some disagreements on how you should teach between me and the tenured staff. So I left and tried to teach middle school again.
What made you want to become a teacher? Was it like something you thought of as a kid, or was it something more like, I need to do something, so I'm going to become a teacher, or like what was the path for you?
I never wanted to be a teacher to start with. I actually did 2.5 years as a double in mechanical and aerospace engineering. I got really tired of doing all the math. I went through all the calcs, differential equations, statics and dynamics. I would go into classes and it's like, hey, your homework for the week, your team of 5 people is going to answer these 4 questions. And then he would do an example on the board. It would take up 8 to 10 whiteboards. He'd get to the end and go, well, that's not the right answer, but you get the idea of how it's supposed to be done.
Like, well, if you're not going to get to the right answer, what the fuck?
Yeah. So I was like, this isn't for me. And I was a mechanic through undergrad, turning wrenches. That's also a fun story. The shop broke my car, and I pestered them so much they gave me a job. So mechanic through undergrad. And if you're in mechanical engineering, they have the ASE race team, building a car, race the car. But unless you're a senior, you don't get to touch anything. It's like, guys, I'm a mechanic. Doesn't matter. You're not an engineer. So I went to material science for a semester. That was really cool. I learned about why the engineering stuff worked at a molecular level. And then I was like, well, this is still just math and no application. So I tried business school, a couple classes. That wasn't for me. And someone said, well, you want to do hands-on stuff. There's a shop in the bottom of that building. It's like, I don't even know what that building is. And they're like, well, that's the College of Education. It's like, why do they have a shop? And it's like, oh, industrial arts, tech ed. You can be a teacher, but you get to play in the shop. I was like, well, that sounds cool. So I went over there.
Just kind of figuring it out as you were going through school.
Yeah. My dad called me Van Wilder. He's like, when are you going to ever graduate? So changed degrees, redeclared, had a whole lot of extra classes. NC State charges you a surcharge if you have too many hours. I hit that point. So they charged extra for me to continue to be a student. Yeah, it's still just like the government. You want to exist, that costs money. Yeah, so I did the whole education thing. Did my 2 more years of required time for that degree. And then they're like, hey, did you know that you can get a graphic design, 3D design, modeling, second bachelor's for only another semester? And I was like, cool. So I did an extra semester, got a second bachelor's.
Oh my god.
So did a year teaching. Slight change in the timeline there to help protect me. Taught at a middle school near Raleigh. Had a great time. At the end of it, the principal was like, hey, I'd like you to actually design and run your own course. I want you to make an entrepreneurship class. And I was like, well, that sounds really cool and awesome, but I'm going to go get my master's degree for free. And I will teach it.
How did you get it for free?
Because technically I was a TA, a teaching assistant. So as a TA, I would teach classes for a professor. But the way our department worked and was so small, and because I'm also already a licensed educator, I didn't need to have a real boss. I already knew the curriculum. I had taken it. I had all the coursework. So they're like, you know what you're doing? Yep. Okay. See you at the end of the year.
That's awesome.
Best of luck.
Yeah. So my title was TA, but my boss I talked to every month, and in the courseworks you're signing up for my class. So I called myself an adjunct professor instead.
With all of that, when you first got into that job, did you enjoy it? Like from go, or?
Yeah, I love all the hands-on stuff. Since I've been a kid, I've always built things, which is why I went into engineering. So built things, loved having a whole wood shop, had a whole metal shop, foundry, forge, all the lathes, all the mills, all the welders you could imagine. This is just a playground. And then teaching, I've been just pretty good at it. I'm one of those extroverted introverts. So I have no problem going in front of people and talking a lot. And they're like, okay, now we're done. So teaching, well, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so like handling the kids part, was that like, did it come naturally, or was it more like the downside of the job?
It came pretty naturally. Call it a youth of babysitting, maybe, for all the neighbor kids. And then having held a job since I was, the day I turned 16, used to in public service. So I was used to interacting with all the people, all the kids, having fun. Teaching just came really easily to me. I loved the what they call the light bulb moment, when the kid gets it. That's what makes everything worth it. Any teachers listening, you'll understand that. People listening, maybe you had that one moment when something clicked and you're like, I totally understand now. Maybe it was when you started putting bullets in the center of the target instead of low left.
Nah, it's just my gun, dude.
Yeah, dude, the sights were off. So that was great. When my first teaching gig in middle school was fantastic. A lot of it has to do with your administration, though. And that's where the school systems start to fall apart. So since this is a nice discussion on public education, it's funny. We spend like 10 times more per kid right now than we did 20 years ago. But every measurable metric, we're doing worse. And when they say, no, look at the scores, they're higher. Look at these results, they're higher. Well, that's because we've changed the goalpost. We've changed the goal line.
Yep.
Yeah, you see it in real time, too. Like, the students in this district, they're not scoring high enough, so we're not going to get our cutbacks. We're not going to get... Like, people are incentivized monetarily to make things easier and to cut standards. It's kind of like the military, and we've talked about this, cutting standards in order to make everyone pass.
So when I was teaching in Raleigh, we had this teacher, and great teacher, great guy, also very quickly learned how to game the system to his financial benefit.
Yeah.
The state had a standardized test with a published test bank. So every day for warm-up, he would do questions out of the test bank. And then at the end of the year, when the students have answered and done the coursework on every single question, because they've seen every single question and know every single correct answer, he gets the best test scores in the state. And he gets a reward for that.
Yeah. It is so easy to game systems like that.
We had a fun one. Charlotte was pushing this standardization and bell curve for teacher evaluations. So everyone loves a good bell curve. You have your overperformers, your underperformers, and everyone in the middle, 66%. They said, we're going to grade and evaluate everyone on a bell curve. And hopefully the lower end of the bell curve will be driven out of teaching and everyone gets better. Also, we're going to do bonuses based on your position in the bell curve. And so I raised my hand and I was like, wait a minute. If you're evaluating on a bell curve and driving out the bottom, then the people who are near the bottom will constantly be the bottom. And you're constantly going to be pushing everyone out. And you're going to have to adjust your scores, because if everyone's hitting all the benchmarks, you're going to have to change what that is to get lower performers, since you have this nice rubric. If everyone meets the rubric, you can't lower grade those people. No, you just don't understand how this works. It's like, No,
Okay.
guys, you're literally giving us what we're going to be graded on, and then telling us you're going to punish part of the population regardless of how they do on the thing you're giving us. No, you just don't understand.
Christ, I hate that. I think that's been happening for a very, very long time. Like, I remember seeing movies with that being part of the plot, never the actual plot, but mentioned, that took place in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. But it's very weird. I think I've brought it up before, like the standards of certain things when I learned versus, this is all really anecdotal, but it seems like facts and knowledge that I took for granted going through public school are things that are way too advanced for a lot of kids that went through the exact same system I supposedly did. It's weird to me. And I imagine it's the exact same way for previous generations looking at me.
Well, it's like looking at the tests, your standardized tests, if you will. They're not actually standardized tests, but your tests from the 30s and 40s. You're like, this is what the high schoolers did. And you look at it and you're like, I don't even know how to start answering those questions.
Yeah.
On that note, here's another. Did you guys do standardized testing in your youths?
It's funny because you're speaking to two people who went to two completely different school systems, but I mean, yeah, it's still basically the same Prussian education of beat you through the square peg hole, regardless of what shape you are going in.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had standardized testing too.
That's why I had to ask if you were natives.
Funny enough, I don't think I actually had standardized testing. I think
Really?
I bounced around enough. Yeah. I traveled a lot as a kid, so I went to like 10 different schools over the 12 years of education. So got a lot of feeling for a lot of places and a few different countries as well. Some private, most public. But I don't think I ever really took I didn't do my SATs. I didn't do any of that. Like I think the closest thing was an IQ test that I did in some class or other. That was not, recorded and simply done for fun. I don't think we ever really did, which is weird because I've heard other students talking about them, but perhaps it's one of those situations where I was just simply not there that year.
Okay. So I haven't been a teacher for 14 years. So some of my information is probably a little out of date. Generally, it's probably gotten worse than what I'm saying right now.
Yeah. It certainly fucking looks like it.
So we have the EOGs in North Carolina, and someone's probably going to come and be like, that's not true. But what I'm going to say here, we have the end of grade testing. They're held, like 3rd, 5th, 8th, 10th, and 12th grade or something like that. I don't know exactly anymore what they were, but they're spaced out. And it's supposed to determine if you're at meeting your grade level expectations for your knowledge base. And they shut all the classes down. You do, it's all silent, multiple choice, fill out your bubble sheets. And you get graded 1 through 4. 4 being you know the material, 1 being you don't know anything. And I'm like, cool. Growing up, I always had 4s. I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, oh, I'm so smart. And then I have, people who are like getting their 3s and 2s. And I'm like, man, that's not great. But, maybe 4s are A's, 3s are B's, etc. Well, then I come to find out once I'm teaching, and I'm going to have you guys take a guess. What percentage rate correct do you think it takes to get a 4, meaning mastery of the subject?
Like a 4 on 4.
Let's say 70%.
I already know this answer is going to be cynical, so it's going to drop it quite a bit. But if you did not say that to me, and I was going in all fucking bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, what it should be is 85 plus.
60.
Oh,
that's a C. That's a C.
Yeah.
That's a D or F in our ratings.
That is awful. Yeah, I remember in real time seeing the standards for a pass drop from 65 to 60 to 50, and I think it's still 50.
Yeah, so to get a mastery of a subject through elementary, middle, and high school, on the end of grade testing rubrics, you have to know 60% of the material.
Fucking serious.
And that gives you the highest score. So can you
That's
now
right.
look at our
Wow.
test where they say you have people who get, they say 2 or below, that's above grade level. 3 is at grade level. And then you have people getting 2s and 1s who are not at grade level. So when you have these schools saying we have, 30% not at grade level, we have 50% not at grade level. In Chicago, we have 0% at grade level.
That's borderline illiterate.
Yes.
Like that is horrifying to me.
And we push these people through.
Because no child left behind, right?
That is a big part of it.
And then, like, ironically enough, you are absolutely leaving them behind when they are not
Yes.
at the same level as their peers. Although it sounds like that's kind of an increasing across the board like state these kids are in, where like so few are actually equipped to be an educated human being going out into the world. They just have like the most base level crumbs of an education.
But they can do Instagram dances, so they're set.
Yeah. TikTok.
Yeah, that's the TikTok dances.
I genuinely wonder how TikTok has changed, and this is before your time, how it's changed the schooling system, and also just like I'd be curious to the neurochemistry too of people who use it a lot.
Well, it's an addiction.
Like,
It's an addiction.
Instagram.
It's 100% terrible for your brain.
Yeah.
This is something my wife and I get on, and it's been publicized. And when you looked at shows through the when TV came out through the 70s, you had one camera, and you had a set, and everyone stayed in that one camera. And then you get a little bit further into the 70s, 80s, 90s, you get a couple camera angles, and you get set changes, but you're still seeing 20, 30 seconds per camera. You get into the 2000s, and the time per camera drops to 10 to 15 seconds or even lower. And now all your TV shows, your camera angle changes like every 4 to 6 seconds just to keep people's brains engaged in what's going on. And Instagram and TikTok are doing the exact same things.
Yeah.
And you'll see it now when you're watching TV. You're like, why can't I just keep on one camera showing it? No, it's just change, view.
It's entirely on purpose. I think what was, because I actually used to keep up on like neurochemistry, and this sort of stuff really fascinates me. I think the average attention span is something along the lines of 7 seconds. I might be totally wrong, and this is absolutely anecdotal, but the amount of time, the peak time for a video to capture the modern person's attention was something between 7 and 9 seconds.
Well, doesn't Instagram or Facebook, like if you watch it more than 3 seconds, it adds to your algorithm that you might be interested?
Yep. If you open anything, it's like, oh yeah, they love that. Show them 80 times that.
That explains why there's so many guns in my Instagram. No matter how hard they try.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now, and the answer is worse than what I thought. So I'm just going to keep that to myself. But from what I can see, it is steadily declining, and as the average attention span has halved since the year 2000.
So we're like goldfish.
Pretty much.
Oh man.
And, I'm not going to like deep dive the PubMeds while we're talking. Someone's probably going to fact check me in DMs later, but. Like I feel it myself. There's a reason that I cut my screen time and Instagram use so much, because it really fucks with my brain, and I can really see how, like, and I'm a grown ass adult. I wonder what the hell it does to a 15-year-old or a 13-year-old or a 16-year-old.
Well, so here's a fun story. Fun in the depressing sort of fashion.
I was gonna say,
when
we
I was
front-loaded
teaching,
that.
yeah. So when I was teaching my second time around, I had 2 16-year-olds in my 8th grade class. If you do the math, you should be in high school, sophomore, junior. That's 16.
16-year-old.
Yes. One of them drove his own scooter to class of school.
I imagine it would be very awkward to be in a class full of children, effectively.
Yeah, but he did sell apparently some really good weed from what I hear.
Ha!
Yeah, he got suspended for a little while for that one. It's we had, and then I was an elective teacher. My principal was awful. The year after I quit, she was terminated for being terrible at her job. Here's where your administration plays such a big role. Her stance was, students do not need authority figures. They need friends. So we had a kid who was picked up after robbing a convenience store, and the police didn't want to deal with booking him, so they brought him back to school, and she bought him lunch and just had a nice little talk with him about how he's making poor life choices.
How did that go over? That's some Robin Williams movie bullshit.
Yeah. I had 3 little wannabe MS-13 gangbangers in my school. And, I can be autistically annoying, and it's fantastic sometimes. But I'd follow these kids around, and I'd be like, pull up your pants, 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 pull up your pants. Solid 5 minutes. So they went to the principal and complained that I was harassing them. And the principal informed me I needed to stop. And I knew they would go smoke behind the gym. So when they were in my hall, I would escort them to their class. And the principal told me I needed to stop stalking our students. One of them has been deported. And one of them is serving a long sentence for a very violent sexual assault.
Jesus.
Oh, fuck yeah.
The third, I don't know. But the principal saying, for your own safety, you should really leave these kids alone. I was like, excuse me?
That's not a good thing. God, fuck that. That is awful.
Yeah, one of the year before I got there, so the chorus teacher, he's a 6'5", 280-pound black man who played football. And the year before I got there, he irritated one of, I don't know if it was the same kid, it sounds like it was, one of them so much that they attacked him by jumping on his back and stabbing him repeatedly with a pencil. Oh. So he threw the kid through a trophy case.
Oh my God.
Jesus, it's like movie level awful.
It was
public school things.
Yeah. So I was in a Title I, which is extremely low income housing or households, low SES, socioeconomic status. We had 40 kids who identified as homeless or qualified as homeless.
Oh my God.
It was kind of a rough school. Lots of great, fantastic teachers. The administration was the worst I could possibly imagine.
You don't say.
Being new to the school system, they assign you a mentor teacher. I was already good friends with one teacher, and I was like, hey, let that teacher be my mentor, because they also get a $500 bonus. And my principal came and said, no, this lady is going to be your mentor. She's half-time Spanish teacher and half-time office administrator.
Yeah, because she gets a kickback now.
And so she missed our first 2 meetings that were scheduled. And then she's like, hey, why don't you come to my office my room right now? And I was like, I can't. Today I have plans. I got to go. And so she told the principal I was skipping our meetings.
Are you fucking serious?
100%. So I was career and technical education teacher, CTE, but I did shop class. We had a computer teacher, except she was 70. I mean, maybe she was 60. I don't want to misage her, but she didn't really know computers that well. She was really a typing teacher that was being pushed through the times. kind of like our students.
I had one of those.
And
Yeah, same.
so it came time, it said we had to update the school website, and all the teachers had to update their own personal pages for the school. I did mine. I helped some other teachers. And then the vice principal came to me and said, you need to go help make the school website. I was like, and it was like, and right now. I was like, I got the meeting invite, but I've got plans today. I'm borrowing someone else's car because mine's in the shop. I got to get my car. I can't do it today. She's like, you will do it today. So I handed her my phone and said, well, why don't you call the people I'm supposed to be giving their car back to and tell them why I can't make it? And she just stared at me. And I turned around and left. So I did the whole car swap thing. It didn't take as long as expected. I go back to the school to actually help with the thing that's not my job and I'm not getting paid for. And she's there. She calls, she says, you need to come to my office. Okay. And she sits me down across from her desk in the kid chair. And she tells me how I will respect the authority of her position.
Christ.
We love us a petty tyrant.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I thought that kids don't need they don't need authority figures. People don't need authority figures. They just need friends.
Yeah. So that school, we had like a 35% teacher turnover rate at that school.
Jesus.
And that was the hardest part about quitting there, was you could see it in these kids' eyes, like another person is leaving us.
Yeah.
That was the hardest part.
My
It's
father,
not you,
now my
it's
Yeah.
the other adults.
Yeah. So it was funny though. You asked, am I the cool teacher or not? When we were building stuff and playing around, I was. And then we'd be teaching and they'd be like, oh, we want to play. And then they're like, why are you not cool now? Like, because sometimes we have to learn things. Yeah. Well, it was super fun. I had 31 kids and 25 seats in one of my classes. And then a different vice principal came in to do a teacher evaluation. Took one of those seats. And so I had like a divided classroom, a seating area, and like a computer lab. So I had some kids in chairs in the computer lab looking kind of through the doorway at the lesson. And then she writes in my performance evaluation, I could do more to keep those kids engaged.
Fuck off.
I was like, try and
Straight
put them in the room with me. That would be fantastic.
All right, come on, children. Act like you're in primary school. Come and sit Indian style.
Yeah. You
remember
can't
if it
say
was
that anymore.
Oh yeah, sorry. Come and sit native style.
Yeah, you got to do the
I can't remember if
crisscross
it was Lucas Nolan.
applesauce.
I can't remember if it was Lucas, Schizocath Lucas, who said, like, never date nurses and never date teachers. And I can kind of see why. Both counts.
You wouldn't date me?
Yeah, DJ.
I mean,
you're
I
kind
might
of a
make an
cunt.
exception. You do have a lot of night vision. I will be a sugar baby.
And not from a teacher, you won't. Thankfully, that's part of why I left. That's also more. So teaching is kind of a shit show. Your students,
You don't say.
Yeah, students can be hit or miss. Usually they're a lot of fun. Administration will make or break a school. Your state level guidance will make or break a school. Again, to the declination, probably not the right word, the destruction of education. We went to this pre-year conference of educators, and the head of the math department got up and did this whole speech about how she would never want algebra taught in middle school. And
Fucking what?
Yeah, I'm thinking back. I'm like, I did algebra in 7th grade, and then geometry in 8th grade, and then pre-calc in 9th grade. And I'm going through my head. She goes, its studies show that children's brains are not developed enough to understand the concepts of algebra. I have 2 kids, and I would never let them take it. And someone said, but if they don't take it, they won't be able to get calculus in high school. And we have AP exams for calculus. She goes, that is not a problem. Kids shouldn't be trying to do that advanced math anyway in school. They can learn that in college.
That's why we don't bother teaching kids a new language as young as possible, because there's absolutely no
Yeah.
value in trying to teach
They're playing
like
both
whole
ways.
complicated things as early as possible.
Exactly.
They'll just look at numbers
Holy
and have a
fuck.
seizure.
Yeah. It is,
I
was
have
just-
questions, and they're very tinfoil hat. And I'm going to wait until you're done this piece to get to them.
Oh no, go ahead. It's just the shockingness. All of the math teachers, a lot of the math teachers, and anyone with a third of a functioning brain was like, "This doesn't work. You can't. You're saying that everyone who's in advanced math isn't smart enough to understand advanced math."
That's so fucking stupid. And I wonder where, like, I'm going to ask because I know how it's like from where I'm from. I don't know how it's like where you're from. And I want to know, is there a centralized governing body where most of the teachers that teach certain subjects all have to go get their degree? Is there a program, perhaps a master's level program, where teachers will go to the same school and congregate and be taught the same things to teach kids?
Funny enough, there are colleges of education where you learn your subject
Really?
matter to teach and how to teach people.
Elaborate, because now you have my attention. Because you went to school to become a teacher, right?
Yeah, that was the first 5 minutes of our discussion.
Exactly. We are recapping.
Yes. So when you go to the College of Education, what subject are you going to teach? So are you going to teach history? Are you going to teach math? Are you going to teach language arts? Are you going to teach technology education, shop class? Are you teaching a foreign language? So if you're doing those subjects, usually there's a very little difference. The teaching part is the difference between a math degree and a math education degree. So you'll take probably 10 or 12 classes on teaching and 10 or 12 classes on math. And the same thing with language arts or history. You know, are you teaching European history, U.S. history, history in a certain period? You'll take all those classes along with your education. So all the buzzwords of teaching, your pedagogy, your way of doing it, and like your heuristics, those things you learn in your teaching classes, your conflict management, your ways people learn, some of the psychology behind it. So everyone should have the same foundation for how you teach and the methods of teaching. And then you have your core subject that you're teaching that you take classes in. Does that answer your question at all or explain it?
Yes, more or less, actually, because I'm curious. I think I've brought her up on the podcast before, but I knew someone who, and I believe that the program was very similar because I asked her about it, and this is many years ago now. By many years, I mean this is like mid-COVID, and she was funny enough getting her Bachelor of Education. And Bachelor of Education, that's kind of a misnomer. I think like a teaching degree is not a bachelor level degree. Generally, it's, at least where I'm from, that's considered more a master's level. You need to have completed a certain amount of work and, you know, keep to a high standard. And like she already had a degree in math because she was trying to become a math teacher. She went to the university to learn how to teach kids, and was taking her bachelor's of education. And holy fuck, the change in her personality was wild. It was scary. It was just not good. It was...
One of the benefits of going to NC State for teaching and for being a shop teacher.
Yeah.
NC State started as an ag school, agriculture. Agriculture and engineering were the two things that NC State did. And then we grew from there. And we are a bunch of rednecks in that department.
Okay, that is good because where I'm from, it was it was entirely and being taught on a state level. So every student every teacher went through this program. They were being taught the same things that you're kind of warning about. They were being taught the things that were like, hey, kids' brains aren't developed enough to learn this, but we should teach them how to use dildos.
I can't say what was happening in the English and history departments, But for
she
the
was
most
a
part,
math teacher. That's what she was
Yeah.
getting out of it, and would argue very passionately that point, which was weird, but okay.
yeah. Again, yeah, tech ed teachers, the career technical education teachers are a slight different bunch than the core classes, which we were told regularly as those teachers. The students would say to you, "Why the hell should I care about your class? I don't have to pass it to go to the next grade."
Jeez. Jeez.
They understand, like that's the thing. Like kids aren't dumb. They're just little people who with boundless potential. And so like they ask really good questions because like they don't have any, they're developing their opinions and their worldview as they're kind of going through the system. And so like they come across things that's like, wait, why are we doing this? Because education is apparently trying to ground little human beings with some frame of like, logic so they can figure out the world
No, get
by
rid of
themselves.
that. No, we can't have logic.
No.
We can't have self-think.
Yeah.
Robots. We need
like,
robots.
The goal of higher education should be to prepare the next, generation how to think logically, how to be able to be adults, how to navigate life, and you can make the argument like, oh, you get a job, become a wage slave, be a wagey and a cagey, but namely like how to be an adult. Like school should prepare you for the cold, harsh reality that we all have to eventually contend with.
We had classes like that. We got rid of them for budget cuts.
Yeah.
No, so in Charlotte, we used to have a full wood. When I was in school, we had a full wood shop, but we weren't allowed to use it anymore because of potential injuries. So the teacher had to do all the work. And when I was,
then what's the fucking point?
You could still do your wood crafts then and your derby cars and things, but the teacher had to cut them out once you drew the shape. Okay, you don't necessarily need kids in bandsaws or whatever. In Raleigh, we had a shop. The kids could actually use the lathes, but they could not use the table saw. Like, oh, cool. They could actually touch something. In Charlotte, they had these shop classes, and then they said, you know what? Since only teachers can use it, and it's a whole lot of space we could use for something else, let's just tear them out and change the curriculum. And it's happening all over the place.
What?
So we don't have actual tools. We have tabletop CNC machines that cut wax. So the teacher can melt the wax down on the projects or the scraps and make new blocks for the next class or the next year to make the new thing and learn basic programming. And we'll use that very loosely. It's like, guys, they don't understand what the machines can do, but you want them to make this little keychain thing or make a cube out of a rectangle. Yeah.
Okay.
And then they said, you know what? We don't need that, really. They're not learning anything. Let's drop all of tech ed and let's do, and this is what I taught in Charlotte, exploring career decisions. Which you're like, cool.
What the hell does that mean?
Yeah. So in high school, I think that'd be a fantastic course. To a bunch of 12-year-olds, it's supposed to be, these are all the different possibilities and opportunities that lay in front of you. Do you want to be anything from a burger flipper to a doctor? There's the military and construction. There's doctors and nurses and industrial manufacturing and math and scientists, and all these careers are opportunities that you could pick when you get older. Except in North Carolina, the state has a curriculum book for you. And the state, and the idea is great, says if a kid moves in North Carolina, no matter where they go, because everyone's following the same curriculum book, everyone should be in roughly the same place throughout the year. So instead, we have the dumbest lessons, the easiest garbage worksheets, and a set thing that you're supposed to do with the kids. It's like, what if I want people to come in and do presentations and talk about jobs, do a career day? No, I don't. That's not going to work for our kids. You shouldn't do that. This is my administration again.
Christ.
Other schools, other teachers may have had different experiences, but that is what my schools were.
All of these stories kind of sound within a standard deviation of each other, and I hate that.
Was there any kind of divide between like different kinds of teachers, like sort of those who respected the nurturing of like independence amongst kids and those who were like all for kind of soft hand kind of coddling of kids, like taking away things like getting hands-on with tools and things like that, and their brains are too soft and undeveloped to learn these more advanced things. Like, was there any kind of clear divide between those sorts of teachers?
In a gross generalization, by age. Your older
really?
teachers, your more developed teachers who'd been in the system longer, generally were more free to do what you want, free to make their own things, free to do it how we want to do it. And more of the newer teachers were, this is the way we were taught, this is the way they want us to do it, this is the way we're going to do it. You see a pattern there?
Yeah, it emerges pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So, kind of almost the changing mentality as we went from being a very independent, like, society of independent people, and like, yeah, you should be capable of that. Like, you should be capable of all these different things to, no, just be a good wagey, good at one thing, be simple-minded and an easily controllable tax cattle.
He was not my student, but there was a very solid entrepreneur in my school. He took all the liquor from his parents' liquor cabinet and put it in his backpack, and he was selling shots out of the stall in the guy's bathroom.
Based.
Yeah. Wait. I feel like we're on the wrong side of this one, Nathan, but fuck it.
You know what? He's an entrepreneur. He learned He's the one student who went to that school who learned an important life skill.
Well, and just like the weed dealer, they both got suspended.
The real question is how much are they worth now? Yeah.
Yeah.
He
owns Microsoft.
His name was Bill Gates.
It was funny. I had some really high performers, and they absolutely did not want to get recognized for being a high performer.
Because it was kind of
I
like
wonder why. Was there social pressure to like, if you do well, you're a nerd?
Yeah. Teased, bullied, made fun of, which are kind of normal kid things, but they're like, no, it's not worth it. I don't know if kids are softer or if we were just told to deal with it more growing up. But yeah, these kids, when I was like, I'd kind of post. I started by posting top performers because in real life, you either get recognized or given more work when you're a top performer. So tried to recognize these people who were putting in the work and getting results. Quasi shaming the ones who weren't doing it without calling out their names. Like, you could have your name up here too if you did anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, go back into this lovely CMS, that's Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools policy, which to my understanding still stands. Say you didn't want to do any work, you didn't want to do the assignment, you didn't want to take the test, so you didn't do it. What grade should be assigned?
0. You didn't do it.
Do you concur, BR?
I mean, I'm against the whole system, man. But
yeah, you're monofonic.
But yeah, if you didn't do the test, then how could you have scored anything?
No, you get a 50.
Oh, okay.
How?
Well, guess
Fucking
what? I'm
how?
not doing the fucking test.
Because zeros are harmful to the psyche, and you also you have to accept late work. You cannot deduct for late work, and you have to offer extra credit. Because if the student tries at any point in time, they should be able to succeed. And if they have
These
zeros,
children are going to get massacred in the
So
job
deadlines
market.
don't
Holy
exist
shit.
anymore.
so if they get zeros, that would too negatively affect their grade, and they would not be able to succeed.
If I got zeros, my parents would beat my ass. I'm not suggesting that all parents should have execute
That's because
corporal
you're
punishment,
Asian.
but some. Yes, fair point. She used a wooden
This is
spoon.
Not the normal experience. But no, like if you deliver apps, if you go into your job, unless you work for the government, if you work in in a private role and you sit on your ass and you do jack shit, you're going to lose your fucking job. You're not gonna get like half your pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no! I'll get it to you in 2 months. That'll be fine. Like that doesn't. It's not how it works.
No, your replacement will get it to me next week. Now fuck off.
Yeah.
And that was like, you're not setting the students up. Right now, you see it on these Instagram and TikToks when these kids get into the real world and get a job, and they're like, I don't understand. It's all so hard. I have to work and do things, and then I pay taxes.
Like, yeah, it sucks. You should have been prepared for this, kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the shop in high schools, they have, they had a masonry class. Different high schools had different extracurriculars. One had an automotive school, one had masonry, one had plumbing, one had electrical as electives, and you could leave ready to sit for your license test or your license.
That makes so much more sense.
And they're getting rid of those because of budget constraints.
Yeah, but they're keeping what? What exactly is the budget going towards?
Administrators.
Yep.
Administrators, 100%.
It's almost like this whole fucking system's a sham.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, you know what? We need a vice principal. We have a principal, but we need a vice principal for every grade. But we also need a principal's assistant, and we need 8 office staff. We don't need a nurse anymore. They aren't important.
So it's administrative bloat.
When I started teaching, when I taught in college, we'd started using the online dashboard learning portals like Blackboard. If you've ever heard of that.
Oh, I hate Blackboard.
Yeah. Or WebAssign. But with Blackboard, I was using it. My course had quizzes and stuff that I had to put on and use teaching college. Well, I get down to Charlotte, and I'm at a CTE, which is all the teachers in my department getting together for the district and having a meeting. And I'm discussing my history and background with the head of curriculum development. He's like, wow, you did Blackboard? You're doing exactly what we're trying to do right now for the district. Do you want to come help us develop all the curriculum? And I was like, no, that's not my job. I'm going to do my job at the school, and you can do the curriculum stuff.
Jeez.
Just the blind leading the blind.
Yeah. Well,
It's just administrative bloat all the way down.
and,
It's almost like
go ahead.
everything to do with the government's just a sham.
Well, and then in North Carolina, we get paid dirt for being a teacher. And I love all the news articles and Instagrams about you get 2 months off, you get 3 months off, you get all your holidays, you only work 6 hours a day. And it's like, okay, well, I was paid $30,000 a year as a teacher.
Oh, damn.
That's awful. That's poverty.
The state keeps 10% for the teacher retirement fund that you don't get to see until you've worked 20 plus years.
Oh, so if you don't work that long, you just never get it.
It's a Ponzi scheme.
Nice.
Yep. But no, you can't call it that. It's, yeah. So 30,000 a year. I was voluntold that I would be leading an after-school club that was 2 hours every Tuesday. No, I don't get paid for that, but yes, I have to be there. It's and they're like, okay, and then they're like, oh, our budget's not high enough. We know we promised you step raises every year, but we're not going to do those. And by the way, it's actually for the next 5 year. We're not going to do the promised raises.
Wow.
And it's the government; they'll get away with it.
And so everyone's like, oh, and you get all your time off. It's like, actually, no, because we're usually there before school starts to do all the pre stuff. We're there after school doing clubs or grading or prepping lessons or prepping materials. During the summer, we're doing continuing education credits to teach our teaching license, or we have second jobs because they only give us 10 paychecks a year. Those 2 months of the summer, we don't get a paycheck.
Holy
Really?
fuck.
Yeah.
That fucking sucks. I know at least, I think the teachers here do. But,
So can you imagine?
By here, I mean back in Canada.
So on the 1st, you get $3,000. You have to wait a month, and then the 1st, you'll get $3,000. But it's not $3,000. You get to take taxes out of that. So you get $2,500. Has to last you the month.
Oof. Yeah, you need a sugar mama.
Yeah. So my wife's an accountant.
Hell yeah. My guy.
Your wife is very cool. You know what's funny? Like teachers actually get paid like not definitely better than you were, but not poverty, but not good. Where I was from in Canada, accountants get paid shit. I knew one that was making 35K Canadian.
Well, that's like $3.
Yeah, it's like that's
The
more
basic
like
pesos.
8. You could get a Starbucks with it, I think.
Yeah, so here, my numbers are a little skewed, but you'd have to work 20 years to make 65 grand.
Fuck that.
And if you're an administrator, you pretty much start at 65 grand. So a lot of the teachers who were like, this is stupid, just work to become administrators and contribute to the bloat. And you find more roles for administrators that make twice what the teachers make. And so, yeah, there's some states that pay a lot better. North Carolina is 49th in pay. So it's pretty much the worst. Our cost of living is not the lowest. So it works against us. Yeah, and you hear this some like teachers unions and in New York the teachers make 120 grand. They've also got a teacher who was convicted of sexual assault and didn't work for 20 years but collected a paycheck the entire time as he sat in the basement. Right, so
That is disgusting. That like I read a not really tinfoil hat theory the other day about how most of the woes in American society are due to middle management self-perpetuating themselves. It sounds like teaching is kind of one of those. I do believe a little bit in the Yuri Brezhnev theories, but it sounds like a lot of it is simply just justifying their own existence so they can make a paycheck, and the system continues ad infinitum because of that, and it's not going to change. It never will. It's too ingrained.
And so the good teachers, they absolutely make all the difference. And, I'll never bash or detract from all the work that good teachers do. But there are some bad teachers and there are some people that shouldn't be teaching. And there are some people that they push every bit of the indoctrination they can, which is where you get all the news articles and all our super extremist views. That teachers are all there just to ruin the world.
Yeah, I don't think that's everyone. I don't think it's institutional, at least on purpose institutional. I just think it's self-perpetuating.
Yeah, because they went to college.
Yeah.
And got a master's degree and a technically liberal degree.
Yeah. And it's like, I think that a lot of those things self-perpetuate themselves. I think it's a lot less tinfoil hat than a lot of people say, but it's still insidious.
Yeah, it was funny. I was, this is where I was the bad teacher. I had a couple kids who would have pocket knives, and
Yeah.
according to the rules, I should either A, safely confiscate it, or B, lock everything down until the police can come get it.
Oh my
Fuck
God.
that.
And so what I would do is I would suddenly slide my pocket knife out of my pocket, make sure the kids saw it, and then I would slowly slide the pocket knife back in the pocket. And then their eyes would go, oh crap, and they would take their pocket knife and they'd slide it back into their pocket where it belonged.
Yeah. Like, homie, you're
That's
printing.
a cool
It's
teacher.
like- It's like I could have you would be suspended for 10 days. That provides a lot of value. Or you can keep your 3-inch pocket knife in your pocket.
Yeah.
Well, if you
Yeah.
suspend like 6 kids, they can actually sit down in your class.
Yeah. I never thought of that. That would have been genius.
See, there you go, problem solved.
Yeah. It's just things like that. It's like these kids, you get a pretty good idea of who they are, what they stand for, what they're gonna do. Like, this kid is not causing problems. He just carries a pocket knife like everyone should.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I did as a little hit kid out in the sticks. Like, it was
Yeah,
very
same.
illegal because it was a locking knife, but it's just what you do if you're a little like country boy. Like, you always have that shit on you.
Well,
Yeah.
Now they can't carry. Now they can't carry baseball bats or kitchen knives over there. So
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can't carry fucking anything.
You said your school was like kind of like lower
Yeah.
income and stuff. Did they have metal detectors?
no, not at all. Because we're
Oh,
too
thank
cheap
God.
for
At
that.
least- But was it something that really struck me after moving over here, and like I see it retrospectively thinking back to English schools, but like all schools around here, they look only slightly different from the prisons. Like, did,
Yeah, that's weird.
it's something like whenever have you seen those memes that like puts a prison and a public school side by side? And it's like the cafeteria, the buses,
same
the actual facility itself. Yeah, like did that ever occur to you while you were teaching that it was kind of prison like?
So the elementary school I attended had wire infused glass.
Fucking
Yeah,
what?
yeah. So did mine.
What is North Carolina?
And it had bullet holes in many of the windows.
Oh,
Wait,
fuck.
was this California?
No,
or
this was here in
uh,
Charlotte. I went to Billingsville Elementary in Greer Heights, which at the time, it's been super gentrified since then. At the time was the worst crime district in Charlotte. And the city, to help enforce non-desegregation, there we go, brain's catching up, decided to bus kids from higher income areas to the lowest income areas, and kids from the lower income areas to the highest income areas, to make sure there was a mixing of the population.
I'm sure that went over like shit in Cold Biscuit.
Well, I was one of the 20% of Caucasian individuals at that elementary school. I was attacked twice for being the white kid. It was the first time I was asked if I wanted to press charges. When I was in
The first time.
4th
out of
grade.
How many? Christ.
It was a fun time. Learned a lot, but I wouldn't change it. I had a lot of friends. I didn't enjoy the 50-minute bus ride every morning and afternoon.
Yeah, I've done those.
But yeah, so that school was rough, and you got to love the bureaucracy here. So after I left that school, they bulldozed it. It was an outdoor school. So you had like 5 rooms in a wing, and then a outdoor covered walkway, and then 5 or 6 rooms in a building, and then an outdoor walkway, and 5 or 6 rooms together. So they bulldozed that whole thing because it wasn't secure enough, and they built an indoor school and a new library. When they built the library, there's one thing they forgot to budget for, the books.
It's all right. Schools don't need any books. Nah.
No, not at all. So I've had some very great schools. I had great teachers there too. I've had great schools. I've had bad schools. I drew on a lot of that when I was teaching. I've been through most of the scenarios you could imagine.
Like, what do you mean by that? Like, kind of every single iteration of kid and issue?
Yeah. Every iteration of kid, every iteration of issue, the massive bullying, full-scale brawls, security lockdowns before security lockdowns were a thing. There were when I was in elementary school, there were like regular, SWAT team drug busts around the school.
What the fuck?
Or the neighborhood surrounding the school. It was a rough area in Charlotte at the time. But it opened my eyes. It let me see a lot of things I wouldn't have seen otherwise. So I'll never detract from that. But so I get into teaching. I'm in the classrooms and I see the kids starting to pick fights and form teams, and we had a 12-year-old girl get pregnant from a guy under a stairwell.
What the fuck?
Yeah. I had a girl who wouldn't do any classwork. There was a big project. And I was like, hey, so this project, it counts for like 30% of your overall grade for the semester. It's broken into 4 parts. You have to do a presentation. You have to build a model. You have to do like a 3-page paper and something else. And she's like, I'm not doing it. Yeah. Okay, great. You need to. You won't pass otherwise. I'm not doing it. Okay. So there's a teacher conference that's already scheduled with all the parents do them. And the mom comes in and goes, she won't do shit for me around the house. Why the fuck is she going to do anything for you?
Mm-hmm. Like, I wonder where she got this from.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's like, okay, well, this person's going to go really far in life.
Jeez.
Thanks, Mom.
Man. Have you ever seen the movie Idiocracy? I've brought it up in the show
Yes,
before.
it's absolutely a documentary.
BR, have you seen Idiocracy?
Yeah. I hadn't until I like started to watch it a while back and never finished it. And finally, multiple people were like, including our camera guy Phil, was like, "You haven't watched Idiocracy?" I was like, "Fine, fuck it. I'll watch it again." I get it now. I get it.
So in my first school when I was teaching, I had this kid. He's 10 years old, and my classroom, I had a computer lab in the back and then a teaching area in the front. But it's just a big rectangle, so I could totally see everything going on. But I have one group working on the computers while I'm doing a little lesson in the front half of the room. And I'm standing in the middle facing, call it north, and the computer lab south. Well, I'm teaching the kids to the north, and I see them all looking behind me. And so I ignore it, and I see some smirks and some laughing, and they're all looking behind me. So I turn around really quickly, and this 10-year-old kid has rolled up a poster, stuck it from his pants up his shirt, sticking out as in a large erection, and is air humping / dancing across the back of the room. And this is where I am going to lose my shit laughing, but can't.
What the fuck do you do in that situation? Because, like, you basically have 2 options. You can either, like, discipline or, like, just silent. Like, you can't laugh.
So he sees me, and he realizes that I'm no longer talking, and I'm looking at him instead of the direction I was. He just stops, corrects his appearance, and sits down. And I was like, talk to me after class. And I kept going with what I was doing. And so at the end of class, I hand him a piece of paper, and I'm like, I want you to write down everything you were doing wrong. And he writes this huge list. There's probably 15 things on there that he's doing wrong. So I'm like, I don't know what we're going to do yet, but I'm just going to hang on to this and I'll tell you tomorrow. So I'm talking to some other fellow teachers about what I want to do. Like, do I write them up? Does it do an in-school suspension? They're like, no, do not do any of that. I'm like, why? Like, you do not want to deal with his mother. He cannot do anything wrong. And if you do any sort of official reprimand, she will make your life hell. So I was like, all right, I can handle this. I was like, I would like you to write me a 1 to 2 page paper on the inappropriateness of what you were doing. And then I'd like you to get one of your parents to sign it. So it's not a reprimand. He could say whatever story he wants to as to what this paper is for. Giving him all the outs I can. So 2 days later, he comes back with this paper, and I read it. And it's a paper about why he's not racist.
Fucking what?
The kicker is that this child is African American. So I am trying to wrap my head around what he wrote, having his mother sign it, and what story he told. Yeah, that was one of the nice ones.
I mean, that's kind of a good age group to be teaching. Like, they're little characters at that point. They don't have all the awkwardness of being a teenager, but they're no longer little kids. They're like, there's so much potential for chaos in a middle schooler.
That's a lot of. I enjoy it. You get the brain shift from a 10-year-old to a 13-year-old theoretically, or 10 to 16-year-old in some cases. And the huge growth and developmental change. So everyone's like, oh, the hormones, whatever. But the developmental change in their brain and the cognitive abilities and the way they think totally changes over those 3 years. So that's why I enjoyed teaching it. To me, high schoolers are just a bunch of assholes.
Oh, they fucking are. They're dickheads. Like, I think the best schooling years of my life were middle school. Like, I had awesome history teachers that were really influential to me. Same with like a lot of English teachers. Like, that was when school was probably the most interesting. Then high school, I was just like, get me the fuck out of here. I'm ready for the real world because this is not it.
And then you hit the real world and you're like, shit, what have I done?
No, I prefer the real world to high school. High school was fucking. I was just like, I was ready to be done. I was like, all right, so I feel like I'm working, but I'm making no money. What the fuck is this?
Yeah, I worked at a movie theater through high school, and I was a band kid in marching band and all that other good stuff.
Oh man,
so I had a lot of fun in high school.
I was just in the sticks shooting bunnies. That was like doing a little bit of pest. I was doing like pest control for like farmers and shit. That was my side gig. But you don't have to share if you don't want to. I don't know if you have kids or not. But would you, if you do have kids, would you send them to public school?
So I do have an 8-year-old boy. He is in public school. Do I love it? No. But I am a little more, I'd like to think I'm a little more active. I could definitely do more. But the schools distribute the curriculum. And every quarter they say, these are the topics we're learning. This is the subject matter we're discussing. So I keep on top of that. I try and talk to him daily when I travel for work. So when I'm home, I try and talk to him about what he's learning, the things he's learning, what's the subjects and stuff like that. What's he talking about? What are they doing in school? So far, it's been pretty safe and not much of the indoctrination that I fear. I know some of it's happening. I would love to do a charter school or even homeschool. My wife and I have discussed it a little bit, but unfortunately, our careers don't contribute to that ability.
Mm. That's one of those fucked up things about the modern issue of like having to be a two-income household basically to like, you know, keep your head afloat. Like they've really sapped the family's ability to make that decision. It's kind of now like a real situation luxury to be able to homeschool comfortably.
I agree. And now, and if you have more kids, the more kids you have, the more sense it could make. And that's kind of counterintuitive. Yeah, if you have one person in the household who makes a solid income, childcare costs are so high
Oh, that's awful.
that depending on what your other person in that partnership does, it's cheaper just to stay home and have them teach kids through some level and take care of children through some level, kind of like it used to be before prices got out of control, and handle the child raising. It doesn't have to be the wife; it can be the husband. There's no discrimination here. I'm the teacher of, so I think it can make sense, at least into the elementary school years, where you can really teach your kids foundational information, knowledge, and to ask the questions. If it doesn't make sense, or it's not what you've been taught, or not what you know, question it, fight it, argue it. Don't just go with it's what they taught me, it must be true.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's so many people, and it's something that kind of comes up in that homeschooling space is like unschooling, like stepping back what was actually just useless bullshit instead of actually actionable education. Like I will not be teaching my kids the same things I was doing because there's a lot of stuff that I was kind of doing on my own time. Like most of the history I learned was not what was in the curriculum. A lot of the English that I was, like literature and stuff like that, and nonfiction was all shit I was picking up of my own interest because school was just dull to me. Like all the stuff they were trying to like, that was just the regular curriculum was just so uninteresting compared to what else was out there and what felt way more practical to learn. Like in British school, we were learning about the American West for our history. They didn't teach us shit about the British Empire. Shocker.
Well, it's because you lost everything.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, what if British children were taught that, yeah, we were evil assholes across the entire world, and then not only that, we were such pussies we lost it all. Like, damn, that's a pretty fucking weak place to be coming from, and to pay hand over fist to be taught to your populace is that we were brutal assholes who became the worst losers in the world.
Well, that's the thing. We always make fun of the French, but really the biggest losers have to be the British.
They had it all and they lost it all. Well, apart from the stuff that's still in the National History Museum. We kept that shit. And then
hasn't Nicolas Cage stolen it yet?
I mean, he might have. It's been a while since I've seen it. It might have done the Indiana Jones and just swapped all the Egyptian shit out.
Yeah. So I'd love to homeschool the kid. I give a lot of credit to people who do it. I know that there's as we discussed, when you're young, you're easily impressionable and easy to learn things, except algebra. And
melts the brain.
So the younger years are great to homeschool, but I think the high school age is really when maybe not homeschool, but an extra school, or where your life lessons in real world need to be taught. And that's what we're not doing at all. We're not preparing children or young adults for what's actually going to happen. when they step outside the four walls of a school where they're wildly protected from real life.
Well, yeah, I mean, we literally feed them into the jaws of the biggest and often most irresponsible loan they will ever take in their fucking life at 18. And we're like, hey, you have to go off to college if you don't want to be a loser. And then, guess what? They blow, like, 3-4 years, drop out, or come out with a useless degree, and then they end up like a barista or something with a liberal arts degree, and like a stupid amount of debt, like a life-ruining amount of debt if you can't get on top of it. And it's like,
Yep.
Wait, this is the optimal way to do things?
I was pretty fortunate with college. NC State's in-state tuition's not that high. I worked. I also had a loan from my parents. So thankfully they were in a position to do that for me. So I managed to do 8 years with about $40,000 of debt.
Holy shit, wow.
That's not bad.
I'm kind of worried that dates you a little bit, my friend, because that is not the case anymore.
Yeah. If I had done it all without working and it without just writing a government or private loan, it probably would have been closer to 100.
Holy shit! So you busted your ass. It was 8 years, so that's spread out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the Van Wilder from my dad. I was like, hey, can I just keep taking more of these? Because I loved and love learning. So I took classes. I took a statistics class that I failed just so I could go and sit and learn the class. But I didn't do any of the homework or tests. I took a history class that I absolutely loved, but I didn't do any of the tests. I took a chemistry too, which I loved. I failed the class, and every single person sitting around me got an A because they didn't understand what was going on, and I would teach them, but I didn't do the tests.
Oh my god! You could have like 6 degrees.
Yeah. Holy shit! I'm surprised you turned
6
out normal.
pieces of paper.
What? I'm normal?
Yeah, I'm surprised you turned out normal with that much time in higher education.
Well,
He means
so
you
I
didn't
was
cut
also
your dick off.
I was the for a portion of it. Oh, it was great. So I was the president of a fraternity, and I also started the Students for Concealed Carry on Campus club.
Hey.
And the university would not recognize the Students for Concealed Carry and let us do events. So I used the fraternity I was a president of to sponsor the events for the organization I started that wouldn't get recognized. And then I wanted to make it an official club, and I needed to get a faculty sponsor. Well, the rifle team captain at NC State would not sponsor the Concealed Carry Club.
What a bitch.
But I was faculty at NC State. So I used my faculty ID to sponsor my student organization, which was promoted by the fraternity I was the president of. No, I used the system to its fullest extent.
That's just a rebranding of corruption, but it's I guess it's for good, so I appreciate the tactfulness.
Yeah.
If they were going to play by those rules and actually not follow the rules, I was going to use the rules they designed against them.
Well, I mean, that's a kind of a wild thing. This is fucking America. The place was founded with guns not that long ago, and yet, like, young people can't practice like rifle and pistolmanship on campus grounds. It's so fucked that has been completely removed from that stage of your life as a culture. Because that would be such... college would have been so much fucking cooler if I could have been on the rifle team. Instead, I did officer training and then applied for the marksmanship team, and then they fucking like the guy was such a disorganized mess. The captain running it was such a disorganized mess. He never got back to me until like I'd already made plans to be in another fucking country when the competitions were going on. But so that was the only kind of rifle shooting I could have done, and it seems like mostly posh bullshit over here on campuses for like rifle and like clay pigeon shooting, like ski shooting clubs and stuff.
I was on the JROTC Air Rifle Club in high school.
Oh God, I'm so sorry.
JROTC war stories.
Oh, that was fun. Going to air shows and people bringing laser pointers and shining them at the guards on duty. And having parents yell at us for not going to sleep after we bought 3 liters for 27 cents at the PX.
Fuck yeah. That's using that opportunity to its fullest extent.
Yeah, I think so. Or when the I guess they were airmen where we were for this air show, come through at 2 a.m. and kick all the tent stakes out, the tent poles out.
Fuck them kids.
And it doesn't affect us because we're the ones getting yelled at for not being asleep.
And I do not miss cadets. I do not miss any of that shit.
Well, I've got issues, so mine didn't go very far. Medical issues, I should say, not mental. I promise. Voices say so. So we lots of fun things. All the fights for my own safety. I was the cool teacher. I had a lowered, tricked out race / show car. So when there were student events, I'd
Oh, you showed me that.
Put the car in the center and turn the subs up so your hair would shake and things like that. And even though the principal, again, most principals like, no, don't let them know what car you drive. They're going to come out. It's going to be all keyed up. And I was like, well, if I'm not an asshole to them, they probably won't key my car.
And if they do, the other kids will fuck them up.
Yeah.
Get the kids to do your violence for you.
Hey, I've got a beef. Can you help me?
I need to take this guy
You want
out
that
for
egg?
me.
Yeah.
He's 12. Yes. And a real asshole, that one.
So I left teaching. I got tired of the absolute lack of pay, and the second I walked out the door, it was a 50% pay raise. It's like,
private
okay,
industry, fuck working for the government. Government's
yeah.
I
mean, if you can make it 30 years, they'll give you a pension and pay you. But no, I'd rather have a 401k and contribute myself.
So, was it just the pay that made you leave? Like, if it had been, if you'd have known of that pay rise, would you have stuck with it?
I don't know. I don't know if to this day, 14 years later, if I would have been teaching. I loved teaching. I liked teaching the first middle school. I loved teaching college. I liked teaching itself of the kids where I was. My administration forced me out. I could not handle the bureaucratic, it's not nepotism, but the friend gets promoted, the friends get everything they want, the in crowd, the principal's favorites. I couldn't handle that garbage.
Yeah.
And that's what really made me leave. The pay was just icing on the cake. So at some point I might have left. 14 years later, I would have been making $50,000
Holy shit.
a year.
Fuck working there.
Yeah, it's not great. When I started the school, I was a late hire for them, and I was like, okay, well, I'm a tech ed teacher. It's a lot of hands-on. What supplies do I have available? They looked at me like, you need supplies? It's like, yeah. Like, well, what do you need? I was like, let's start with like construction paper, masking tape, and markers, so I can just do some projects and things. And so I show up, and they hand me a 250 count of construction paper, an 8-pack of Crayola, and a single roll of masking tape. I have 310 students on my roster, and then I find out that I don't have enough chairs for the students. And I was like, I need more than this. Like, that's all you get. So I had when the kids come in for open house, I have a list of things the class needs, which are usually pretty serious. Like, we really do need those. And then I went to friends and family and friends of friends and friends of family. They're like, who wants to donate to my classroom? And so through my begging, the free market provided about $1,000 worth of supplies. And I put them in my closet. And then my department shows up. They're like, where'd you get all of our supplies? Excuse me, what? You're like, well, this closet is our closet. It's like, the fuck you say?
I will cut you if you touch any of my supplies.
So I reorganized the whole closet, and I said, the left side is yours, the right side is mine. Keep your filthy hands off of my supplies. So I had a lot of supplies, and then when I left, I divvied all those supplies out to the teachers that I like and left nothing in the closet. Was it petty? A little bit. Was it worth it? Absolutely.
No, I mean, fuck that. I mean, like a government job where you are a charity case and you have to like you're going out of your way on your own time just to make stuff happen. Eesh. And you've got 2 months of the year where you're basically unemployed.
Yep.
Yeah. Everything about that sounds awful.
And they wonder why we can't get teachers of any sort of quality now.
Yeah. Like, where the accusations of teacher indoctrination come from.
Well, so you know what the government said is they said, you know what? If you get your teaching degree and then you go teach at a low SES school for 5 years, we will waive your tuitions. We will cancel all of your student debt for tuition if you do 5 years at a low-income school.
Is that why you went to do it, or did that come after you?
That came after me.
It kind of reminds me of the military. Like, no one's doing this here. And that's kind of another thing, and I brought this up a long time ago. Why teaching is so fucked, because basically to become a teacher, you generally have to be an ideologue. Like, no one's doing this for the money. No one's doing this because they got their master's level degree and they're $100,000 in debt, and now they're getting paid $30,000 a year to get abused by students. They're doing it because they believe it. And generally that can kind of, on paper that's good, but I think it can be a really dangerous combination with the wrong people, which most of them probably are.
Here, another great story from when I was teaching. I had a girl who was talking on her phone in class. Excuse me? So she finished her call. She had me wait. Finished her call. And I don't know how familiar you are with the back pockets of females' clothing, but they're very shallow. And when you have a nice new phone, 2/3 of that phone sticks out. And she's sitting on the desk, purposely trying to ignore me. So that phone was sitting right there, sticking clear as day. So 2 fingers, I grabbed the edge of the phone, and I took it. And I put it on a shelf. So she's screaming and hollering. She drags a chair over, climbs up, takes the phone back, screaming and hollering. And at that point, I'm like, I'm done. You can go stand in the hallway. You're just disrupting the whole class. So she doesn't go stand in the hallway. She runs to the softball coach and tells the softball coach that I physically touched her inappropriately and that I should be arrested.
Oh, God.
What the fuck?
Thankfully, you know how I mentioned there was a teacher I was friends with that I wanted to be my mentor?
Yeah.
It was a softball coach.
So they're like, okay, right.
So the softball coach said, "Why in the fuck are you lying to me? And you are no longer on the softball team." So I report the whole thing because I'm supposed to and I have to, and I'm not going to have that shit come back on me.
Yeah.
And I get reprimanded because I should have ignored the entire situation, continued teaching the class, and just spoke to her afterward about how it's inappropriate to be on the phone.
This is why students feel like they can get away with anything, though, because there's no fucking consequences.
None at all.
And like, while I don't want an agent of the state being able to beat up my child, I'm homeschooling. There's no two ways around it. This is something we've got into before, but the idea that, you know, you're fostering a environment where kids just kind of learn to be like, I think that there's rejecting authority and then there's rejecting authority. And these kids sound like they're just simply not set up for life at all. They're like, it kind of worries me.
Yeah. So it's funny. It's like I have a classroom. I have more students than chairs who saw this whole event unfold.
So some of them got a real good view of it standing.
Yeah, it's like this girl thinks she's gonna just make up a story and ruin me and try and get me put in jail because I took her phone during class. Oh, and her dad was absolutely gonna come beat me up.
Great. At the time, were you stressed about the whole thing, or were you just like, this is fucking ridiculous?
It's ridiculous. I was laughing. But it was another thing on the list of why I'm quitting this job.
Yeah.
About 3 months left in the school year, the principal called the music teacher into her office. And then he comes to visit me and he's like, that's fucking unbelievable. And I'm like, what? And she goes, we got 3 months left in the year. And she called me into her office to tell me that my contract is not being renewed for next year.
Like, oh yeah, you're gonna be busting your ass after hearing that.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
it's like, there's
can we
3
have a
months
talk?
left.
All right, now go out and teach a class now with a smile on your face.
Yeah. Teach a class to people who have borrowed instruments and none of the school ones work because they're all broken and no one takes care of them, and you're fixing them yourself. Go ahead and achieve more.
And then
by the
tell
way, you've
them
already
they're
been
gonna have
fired.
someone else next year. Yeah. God damn.
Yeah. It's so there. I keep saying there are a lot of great teachers. There's a lot of great schools, but for every great school and great teacher, there are stories like mine.
Yeah, I hear a lot of it. And unfortunately, it seems to mirror what you see online, which isn't real. Like, online isn't real. But the fact that a lot of these pushes are coming from an institutional and academic level, it's worrisome. Like, that trickles down into everything. Like, these social experiments about, like, oh, well, kids can't fail. Or, moreover, these ways to continue to secure state level and federal level funding.
Well, that's wild. Like, oh, our state gets funding based on the kids that pass the test. Well, what's the best way to get more funding? Have more kids pass the test. Well, do we teach them more? No. We make the test easier. That way we get more funding. That's why we don't kick school. We don't do out-of-school suspensions anymore. Our funding is based on the number of seats filled in the school. if we suspend kids out of school, they're no longer filling a seat, so we don't get those same dollars. So we do in-school suspension. My school had an entire room dedicated to the kids in-school suspension.
Fucking what?
Yeah. And so if you do in-school suspension, you're supposed to do extra work to give that kid to do while he's in-school suspension, so he doesn't get further behind.
Yeah, I remember getting an in-school suspension once. I flipped off my art teacher, ironically. Art is the
Fuck
only
art
class I've
teachers.
ever failed, weirdly.
No, same. As a fucking someone who is a professional creative, I was told by my art teacher I am uncreative, and she gave me a fucking D when I was busting my ass. It's like, fuck you cunt.
But it's really funny how that works. I think that's I think that's common.
If you can't do
I think
teach,
that's really
sorry,
common.
man.
Oh, yeah. So, well, that's why I'm a handgun instructor. Wait, what? No, so I think part of the benefit of growing up and going to school in the quote-unquote South was that we didn't have as much of that push for authority, and we had a lot more self-reliance. My 8th grade science teacher, he was the one who taught our class, and I'll remember it forever. If I didn't tell you you couldn't do it, then it's absolutely allowed. So I was like, man, that sounds like our Constitution's supposed to work.
Your school environment growing up was a lot better than the school environments that you taught.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, mine was
Go ahead.
definitely not like what you hear about now. It was actually, I don't remember a lot of fighting. I don't remember anyone really talking back to teachers. I don't remember any of that. And the quality of education was not terrible. I went to a public school.
Yeah. The middle school I taught at first was a very nice school. And we had like room moms and full supplies and didn't need to ask the parents for anything. We had a PTA that provided. We had all sorts of good stuff, and parents and teachers and kids that cared. The home life and the ability is very, very much in effect on how students work and behave at school.
Yes.
And that was evident. One of my kids on my second middle school, we had a program, again, I was voluntold, for at-risk youth, and I loved it. I had 3 students who were assigned to me where I was supposed to be like the big brother mentor. And one of the kids, I went to his house once, and he didn't have a bed. He literally slept on blankets on the floor. And we went and we got McDonald's, which was near the school and near his house. He's like, hey, can we get a sandwich for my sibling and my mom? I was like, sure, absolutely. And this is me making $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. I'll buy you guys some food and bring it home. I delivered the food to his mother in bed because she wouldn't get out of bed.
Was she, like, what was she like? Was she disabled, or was she?
No, not at all.
Here?
Just didn't want to get out of bed for people to do anything.
That is.
So one of the things I did is I got a mattress donated, so he could have a actual place. It wasn't a bed; it was a mattress, but at least he could sleep on something that wasn't the hard floor. Yeah, and so there's things like that, and those are the things that tore me up when I was leaving.
Yeah, because you feel like you're leaving those kids to just the mercy of whoever comes next.
Yep, and so
administrators who are there for the paycheck. These people who don't actually care.
We fired our resource officer while I was there.
Like the cop.
He was making kids do wall sits when he found them skipping class. And apparently that's punishment That's physical punishment that is not allowed.
I always thought like exercise punishments were probably one of the best things you can do to a kid because like
I think so too.
it's only
Like,
fucking
it doesn't
good
actually
for
harm
them.
anyone.
No, and
Yeah.
it sucks. Like if you're caught doing something bad and now you have to exercise. Fuck.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, if they say no, the worst thing that happens is they get in-school suspension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
just
it's
doesn't
like
get
you wanna-
documented if they just do the exercise.
Yeah, like you want to be fucking miserable for an hour or two, or do you want to go and like sit against a wall for a few minutes and feel like a dickhead?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never thought suspension in general was a very good punishment. Like,
No.
oh no, you get to go home to parents that probably don't care. Like
Yep.
it works if your parents will. I don't want to say corporal punishment's fantastic, but it works if your parents will beat your ass. But
Yeah, we the school was such a mess. The one I left, the one that convinced me to quit. It was such a mess. So, and maybe if I had gotten into a different school with better administration, again, I may have taught longer. I may have been the anti-authoritarian figure that was needed in these children's lives.
I feel like I kind of had that in one of my history teachers, and while they weren't like ultra overtly anti-authoritarian, just the kind of like devil may care attitude that like, you know, a cool dude history teacher can give off, like telling history from a much more accurate perspective is like and truthful. You get like a respect for them, and you do way more digging throughout your life. It makes such a big difference.
Yep. Yeah, that was what my, Mr. Hawk, I doubt he's alive anymore. But he was the coolest teacher. I mean, you have to be if your name's Mr. Hawk. But yeah, he was saying like one of them, he's like, he would tell us to do a project and it's physically impossible, but the back of the room has stuff you need to make it possible. And we'd all fail, and he'd be like, why didn't you use all that stuff in the back of the room? Well, because you didn't give it to us. Well, did I tell you couldn't use it? No, well then why didn't you use it? Or, the stupid projects of like, here's paper and string and some tape, make the tallest tower you can that'll hold this ball.
yeah, that's teaching critical thinking, teaching problem solving on your own.
Nathan, where would you put that ball if he says build a tower as tall as you can that'll hold the ball?
Like,
Nathan,
a lot of kids learn through doing, through figuring things out on their own.
How about you, BR? If you're told to build a tower as tall as you can that'll hold the ball, where would you put the ball?
I feel like I'm gonna fuck this up.
I didn't realize you were actually asking us. I thought you were being rhetorical. So
No.
like,
Yeah,
This is
Nathan,
a real
you just straight up failed, so you get a 0 or maybe a 50. I don't know.
Maybe a 50.
yeah, no, I can't fail. I actually showed up and tried to answer it, so I get at least a 60, which is an A, I think.
I'm going to say on top.
Yeah. So that's the standard answer. Everyone who gets the prompt, hold the ball, puts it on top. Well, he goes, my directions never said put it on top. So you can make that paper pencil thin and tape the ball to the side of it on the bottom. It's holding the ball. And now your tower is way taller.
Genius.
And another one, he's like, make this tower as tall as you can. And, we get a tower pretty tall, totally ignoring the ball. We have string and paper. Let's make the tower as tall as you can. And so we make it like a radio antenna with guy wires. What does he do? He tapes the paper to the ceiling.
Damn it.
I would actually argue that. Like, at that point, he's just fucking with you because that's no longer a tower; it's a hammock.
But that's where we were learning our critical thinking about what we were actually told.
Yes.
What can you actually do? I was in a Science Olympiad, Odyssey of the Mind type event, and it was doing a Rube Goldberg, and it said, your project has to fit inside a 2 foot by 2 foot square. So we built our project like an inverted pyramid. So at the top, it was like 3 feet by 4 feet. But when you put it down, it was inside the 2 foot square. And we were disqualified by the adults because it did not fit inside the square.
Oh, fuck off. They didn't say anything about like the vertical footprint.
Exactly.
Oh, I love Nathan's response. Oh, fuck off.
Yeah, right? That's exactly what us middle schoolers said, but the adults win. But yeah, that's the critical thinking that people don't do anymore. It's like, what do I have available? What can I not do? What are my actual limitations? What are my actual requirements? You know, I was at a shooting match against a bunch of government 3-letter agencies and SWAT teams as part of my business. And there was this shooting stage, and it said, okay, with you're holding a shield and you have to engage these targets. There's 7 targets in a flying V. You have to shoot every single target once, and then you can shoot them in any order you want, but you cannot shoot the same target repeatedly. And I was like, okay, you don't have to like go in any order and shoot them all repeatedly. Like, no, you have to shoot every target once, and then you have to change targets for the rest of the hits. Well, I was like, perfect. So I did 1 through 7, left to right, and then I just did 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Well, I was the last to go. Every single other person was like left to right to left to right. Well, I creamed them because I just didn't 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. They're like, that's cheating. And I was like, no, did I shoot the same target repeatedly? Well, no.
Get fucked.
Did I engage all the targets at least once? Yes. Well, then I followed the rules.
And then you have
they didn't think that was very fair, but
that is the most important lesson you can give in life is look at the rules.
They're bureaucrats. I don't respect them anyway.
Yeah, and then sidestep those motherfuckers as best as you can.
Yeah, exactly. So the Brads were at one of these events, and it was also shield work, and it was 2-on-1. So it's like a cop comes up on 2 subjects, and it was a 2-on-1 shooting match. And they had watched all the other officers shooting at each other into the shields. So the Brads promptly came around the car and shot the guy in the legs and the dick.
That's art right there.
Yeah, and they're like, "What? You wanted us to win, right?" It's like, you were covering your vitals with your shield. I shot the open area.
That's how you
I
get
was
killed in the
immobilized.
streets. Like, you think your regular Op 4, like, fucking Johnny Gangbanger's going to follow the rules? No, he's going to shoot you in the dick.
Yep.
You have to be prepared for that eventuality.
I had an instructor catch a ricochet at a shoot house, right to his nutsack.
Oh,
Like UTM ricochet or...
No, like a 9mm frange that didn't frange.
Oh, did it pop? Probably
No,
popped like
no.
overripe cherry.
Apparently, it just changed colors.
oh. Man, Nathan. That makes for 2 episodes in a row where scrotum injuries have come up. which is not many.
Total
but...
scrotal annihilation.
Oh.
Well, gentlemen, we're at about that 2-hour mark, but DJ, it's been great shooting the shit on public school with you. But is there anything else you wanted to touch on? Anything you wanna plug? Anything you wanna say to the people?
Yes, chill yourself.
Yeah, shield myself. That's my favorite thing. CTHR, and this might actually start to touch a conversation.
Yeah.
It's acronym for Courage, Truth, Honor, and Respect.
Hell yeah. It's like but
So-
not bullshit.
Yeah. It's words and actions to live by. So that's where the name came from. But I sell steel molly panels for vehicles to our friends and enemies in law enforcement for their SUVs. I also sell it to different markets in the DOE, Department of Energy, like nuclear securities, for larger wall panels, molly panels. And then I also sell night vision and accessories. So I'm a dealer, distributor. I can get almost everything. I promise.
And also to civilians, which I think is an important distinction to make.
Oh.
You also sell all of these things to the regular person.
100%. I actually prefer that. So I jokingly say I took this one from mutual podcast acquaintance of Redacted Culture Cast.
Oh, I like Forrest.
Yep, Forrest, with the Militia Industrial Complex. So I will happily sell to people at a discount what I will sell at full price to the government.
Based.
So contact me. The website, CTHRLLC.com. Do a contact me if you want a quote, or you can buy it at MAP if you'd like. But reach out, contact me, and hit me up for a quote. I'm happy to give you a price that you probably won't beat anywhere else. So that's my shill.
Hell yeah. Oh, gotta get in there, man. And you guys have an Instagram presence too?
Yep, CTHR LLC. You want to make sure that's correct.
Yeah, my
Yes.
I think you got a period in there.
Yeah, I do. CTHR.LLC.
Cool. Well, that'll all be in the description, so don't worry, little heads people. You can just click it and not think, because BR is gonna do the thinking for you.
Yes, Big Daddy BR is going to help.
So
Well,
night vision,
now
night
you
vision
made it.
accessories. Get your laser on. Just let me know what you want.
Hell yeah. Hopefully we're about to go and play with some of that out at Naughty After Dark.
Naughty After Dark, which probably will have happened
It
by
will
the
have
time
happened.
you listen to this.
Yep.
Unless there's, I don't know, like the ATF comes for all of us, which they probably will, because there's another more bullshit is happening tonight apparently, as we record. So
Really?
we'll see what happens.
What?
What's
Yeah, so
what's
Naughty,
happening?
There's bad stuff going on in Maine right now. Y'all will see it when this is over.
Oh, what, the shooting?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Elections are coming.
Election season's happening.
election season.
How can you tell all of the mass shootings?
Naughty After Dark will have machine guns and night vision. Naughty After Dark is also visible on Instagram if you want more information
Hell yeah.
for next year.
Do you know if anyone's bringing a 50 cal?
Based on pictures I saw from last year, there should be a 50 cal.
I've never shot a 50 cal, so like I saw someone sharing some video of someone shooting a Barrett. I'm like, is there gonna be a Barrett at Naughty? Because I will pay stupid money by the round to get behind a 50.
There is a 1% chance I can reach out to a former employer and borrow a 50.
Holy shit, that's a good acquaintance.
Yeah. I also have another acquaintance bringing a couple machine guns who will be at our tent.
Fuck yes.
Yeah, it'll be a very good time. And then we get to do some face-to-face.
I
Yeah,
am
I'm looking
excited
forward to hanging
for you guys, just kind of like vicariously. I expect feet pictures. I'm going to be here in Idaho crying in the shower, struggling not to, I don't know, like do a Kurt Cobain to my shot timer. Well,
We got to spend our time together at the bachelor party. So
I agree.
Now BR gets a turn.
Yep.
BR, get feet pictures of all of them. for me.
If we're around the campfire, you bet I will. I'm gonna ply these guys with liquor and friendship and get some show me them feetsies.
Well, I'll be wearing my tiger stripe Crocs, so
Slip them bad boys
Yeah.
off for me, DJ. Come on. All right. Oh shit! Before we go, we gotta ambush you with one thing. You know what it is?
dad advice.
Yes, sir.
Yes. God, how did I blank that? I'm gonna kill myself.
We.
So we call that going to Wendy's. That's our code locally.
For
Down to the big Wendy's in the sky.
Dad advice: spend time with your kids. It goes by way faster than you think. Also, teach them about safety, security, and how to shoot. Even if they're not that into it, just the basic knowledge is all you need for a kid. So, those are my 2.
Oh yeah. Yeah, a kid should be able
I
to
like
walk
that.
into
Also,
it.
your kid is like really well behaved. Your kid is actually squared away.
That's
we
quite a
we
bit.
try.
Yeah, he's a very wholesome lad.
It's
Like,
not.
I think
the
you're doing it
homeschooling.
right. Whatever you're doing it right.
I've got to. I'll shout out his mom for that one.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right.
So.
Well, thanks once again, man, for coming on and shooting the show with us. It's been fun, and looking forward to Naughty After the Dark. Should be a good time.
It's been absolutely my pleasure.
Dude, I'm jealous.
Yeah, now you know
Okay, bye.
how I felt while you were in Vegas, you fucker.
It's okay. It's he can edit this. He can edit my K-Buy out, my preemptive. I promise this doesn't usually happen.
You pre-K
Just
by.
this once. I can go again.
You don't finish early all the time.
No.
usually do.
Just
We usually
this time. I promise. Here, let me touch
Just
it a
for
little.
you.
It'll get hard again.
I swear. Come on. All right. Okay, bye.